Okay. So let's start with some more numericals on this. So just look at the secondary screen, and again some data is given. So previously you have seen first question, right? So I have given some data like number of chairs, number of tables, remember? So you just solve that particular question using the same method, graphical method. And just look at this question in the secondary screen. So again some data is given in the question. What you have to do? First, you have to convert this particular data into a linear programming problem like this. And then after converting, you can use the graphical method and you can solve the problem. So just look at the question and try to form a linear programming problem for this. Okay, fine. So I'm just reading the question. So in the question they are saying that, so it is a common data question, okay. So again I'm just repeating. So I mean in 2011 and before 2015, they used to ask some common data type questions. That means, so common data will be there for 2 questions. So but nowadays they are not asking these type of questions. In a sense, no common data questions. They will be asking only single questions, right? So 1 unit of product P1 requires 3 kg of resource R1 and 1 kg of resource R2. 1 unit of P2 requires 2 kg of resource R1 and 2 kg of resource R2. Now the profits per unit by selling the product P1 and P2 are rupees 2000 and rupees 3000 respectively. The manufacturer has 90 kg of resource R1 and 100 kg of resource R2. Now this is given data. So what is the first step in formulating a problem? You have to identify the decision variables. Now you tell me what are decision variables here. So previously in the first question, number of chairs and number of tables are your decision variables, right? Now what are your decision variables here? So see here, you can just observe here. So the profits per unit by selling P1 and P2. So if you are selling 1 unit of P1, what is the profit? If you are selling 1 unit of P2, what is the profit? That is given in the question. So that means your P1 and P2 are your decision variables. That you have to keep in mind. Okay. That means number of units of product P1 and number of units of product P2 are your decision variables. And see, whenever you are seeing these type of questions, okay, follow some tabular method which we are going to discuss now. So if you follow this particular tabular method, you can easily solve any type of question, or else you can easily write the objective function constraints if you follow this tabular method. So listen this carefully. So here I am just taking P1 and P2. Okay. So number of units of P1, let us say X1 and X2. So we'll be using this X1 and X2 only. So number of units of P1, it is X1. Number of units of P2, it is X2. So in this columns I am taking X1 and X2 values. Now here I have to take the constraints or restrictions. So what are the restrictions here? See, there is restriction on raw material. So raw material 1, R1 is available only 90 kgs and R2 is available only 100 kgs. Okay. Now these are your limitations or restrictions, right? So these are your constraints. So write down the constraints here. So you are having R1 and R2. So this is your RHS value. So what are these maximum values? Limitations 90 kgs and 100 kgs, right? So the manufacturer has 90 kg of R1 and 100 kg of R2. So just write down like this, okay? Now you can fill this particular table easily. Now, so read the first statement. So 1 unit of P1. So 1 unit of P1 requires 3 kg of R1. 1 unit of P1 requires 3 kg of R1 and 1 kg of R2. 1 unit of P1 requires 3 kg of R1 and 1 kg of R2. Similarly, 1 unit of P2, so read the statement, requires 2 kgs of R1 and 2 kgs of R2. So it is also given. So 1 unit of P2 requires 2 kg of R1 and 2 kg of R2. So what are the profits? It is 2000 and 3000. So it will be objective function 2000 and 3000. So this is your table. Now from this you can easily write the objective function and constraints. So how to write? So what is your objective function? What about objective function? Maximization or minimization? So profits are given. That means it is a maximization function. So Z max is equal to 2000 x1 plus 3000 x2. Okay. So now this is subjected to the constraints 3x1 plus 2x2 it should be less than or equal to 90 x1 plus 2x2 less than or equal to 100, and your x1 comma x2 should be greater than or equal to 0. So just follow this method, this tabular method. If you follow, you can easily write the objective function and constraints. So if you are having any doubts regarding this, you can ask. So whenever you are getting some data, so which you have to convert into some objective function constraints, so you can use this particular tabular method. Okay. So if you are having any doubts regarding this, you can ask. So any doubts regarding this? RHS. See, RHS is your limiting values. Okay. RHS, it is your limiting values of the constraints. So manufacturer is having 90 kgs of R1 and 100 kgs of R2. So 90 kgs and 100 kgs, what are the limitations? That will be your RHS value. Okay. So any other doubt regarding this? So RHS values in the sense, your limiting values of the resources. So resource 1 is available only 90 kgs and resource 2 is available only 100 kgs. That's what we have written in the RHS. So see, these resources are given per unit, right? So 3, see, listen here, 3 kgs of resource R1. Okay. So I mean product P1 requires 3 kgs of resource R1, 1 unit. Okay. So 1 unit into number of units x1. That's what we have written. Fine. So now you got linear programming problem. Now solve this problem using graphical method. So look at the question. The manufacturer can make a maximum profit of rupees. So solve this one using graphical method and find out the maximum profit. Okay. So solve this one. So graphical method, again whatever we have discussed in the last question. So we are having 2 variables only. It is a 2 variable problem. You can solve this using graphical method. X1, X2. Okay. So again you need some points to plot these inequalities or this particular straight line. Put x1 is equal to 0. So x2 value will be 45. Put x2 is equal to 0. X1 value will be 30. So here also put x1 equal to 0. X2 value will be 50. Put x2 is equal to 0. X1 value will be 100. So plot these points 0, 45 and 30, 0. So again it is of less than or equal type constraint, in the sense the region satisfied by this inequality should be towards the origin. What about second constraint 0, 50? So it should be above this point 0, 50 and 100, 0 may be somewhere here. 100, 0. So again join these 2 points. So again it is a less than or equal type constraint. So your feasible or the region satisfied by this particular constraint should be towards the origin. Now what is your common region or feasible region? It is this one. So this will be your feasible region. So already we know the corner points. Let us say it is 0, 0. So evaluate your z value at these corner points. Z at 0, 0 and z value at 0, 45, which is 1,35,000, and evaluate the value at 30, 0. So this will be 60,000. So what is the maximum value? So maximum value is 1,35,000. So option B. So it is your maximum profit, right? So very good. So most of you have given answers, right? Okay. So you are having one more question in this. So it is already I have told it is a linked answer type question. So one more question is there. So just look at this one. The unit worth of the resource R2 is. So we have not discussed what is meant by unit worth or dual price or shadow price. Okay. So regarding that particular concept, they are asking one question. Okay. Now before discussing that, so one more point here. See, if I remove this particular constraint, okay, so what is this constraint? 0, 50 and 100, 0, this particular constraint. If I remove this particular constraint, there will be no change in the feasible region and there will be no change in the objective function value or maximum value, okay. So we call these type of constraints as redundant constraints. So this constraint we call it as redundant because the presence of this particular constraint doesn't matter. Okay. So even if this particular constraint is present or absent, your feasible region and your objective function value will never change. So these type of constraints are useless constraints, not required. So these type of constraints we call it as redundant constraint or extra constraints, or you can say useless constraints. Okay. Now coming to the second question, where they were asking us to find out the unit worth or shadow price or dual price. All these three terms are same. So I'm just writing here unit worth or dual price or shadow price. So all these three terms are same. Unit worth, dual price or shadow price, all the terms are having same meaning. So maybe in the examination they can ask you to find out unit worth or find out dual price or find out the shadow price. Now what is the meaning of this? Now listen carefully. So as a manufacturer, let us say, so you are a manufacturer and you are having this, you are producing product P1 and product P2 and you are having these resources. Okay. Now as a manufacturer, you will be interested to know what will happen to my profit if I change these resources. Okay, so obviously it is a definite question which you are interested to know. So if you are changing your resources, that is 90 kgs and 100 kgs are available with you, right? If you are changing these resources, what is happening to my profit? That I will be obviously interested to know. Okay, so this is related to unit worth, dual price or shadow price. Now the meaning of all these three terms are same. The meaning is, so let us say unit worth of first constraint. So in the question they are asking us to find out the unit worth of second constraint, that is resource 2. Let us calculate for the first constraint first. So if you want to calculate the unit worth in the sense, unit in the sense 1. Now the meaning of unit worth is, if I increase my resource R1 by 1 unit, initially it is 90 kgs, okay. Now I am just increasing the resource R1 by 1 unit. If I increase this by 1 unit, then what is the change in my profit? That value is your unit worth. How to find the change? Initially your profit is this much. Now make it 91. Again plot the graph. Find out the Z value. You will get some new Z value. So find out the difference between old Z value and new Z value. The difference amount, that is your change in profit. Okay. So if you are changing or if you are increasing your resources, what is happening to my profit, that you can calculate using these three things. Okay. Now what I am doing, so you can change this one. So from 90, I am changing this to 91. So as to calculate the unit worth. Now what will happen? So this will also change to 91. And what about the points? So this will be 45.5. 45.5 and this will be 91 divided by 3. Okay. Now what will be the change in the graph? It will be 45.5 and this will be 91 by 3 comma 0. Now what about your Z value? Let us say it is initial Z value which is 1,35,000. Now you have to calculate the final Z value. So evaluate this at 0, 0, at 0, 45.5, which is 1,36,500, I guess. So please check this value and Z value at 91 by 3, 0. I think it is 60,666.67. So let us say this is your Z dash value, Z dash. So what is the difference between new value and old value? Z dash minus Z will be 1500. Now this is your unit worth of first. So now what is the meaning of this? So the meaning of this is, when as a manufacturer, if I am increasing my resource R1 by 1 kg, I can earn 1500 rupees extra profit. Okay. Same thing happens when you decrease the resource. In the sense, if I am making that 90 to 89, what will happen? I will be getting a loss of 1500. If I am increasing my resource, I will be getting a extra profit of 1500. If I am decreasing my resource, I will be getting a loss of 1500 per unit. So this is the meaning of unit worth, dual price or shadow price. So this is your unit worth or dual price or shadow price of resource R1. Now can you calculate the unit worth for resource R2? So please calculate the unit worth of resource R2. If you are having any doubts regarding this, you can ask. Otherwise, you can calculate for R2. Because in the question they are asking for R2, not R1. So any doubts regarding this? Abhimanyu 0, very good. So why it is 0? Because it is a redundant constraint. Okay. So even if you are making this from 100 to 101, what will happen? It will be moving, but it is not touching your feasible region. So there is no change in the objective function value. Because it is a redundant constraint. Okay. So you just change this from 100 to 101 and you can calculate. Okay. See, whenever you are calculating the unit worth of resource R1, so R2 you have to keep it constant. Just change RHS of R1. Okay. So if you are calculating for R2, keep R1 as constant. That means initial value is 90, right? So this will be 90 and this will be 101. Okay. So again plot the graph. You will be getting value as 0 only. Okay. So as it is a redundant constraint, unit worth will be 0. So what is the answer for this particular question? Option A. Correct answer. So any doubt regarding this? See, finally unit worth in the sense it is just magnitude. Okay. It is neither profit nor loss. Okay. It is just magnitude. That means if you are increasing your resources, you will get profit. Extra profit. Okay. So if you are increasing your resources, you will get some extra profit. So if I am increasing this from 90 to 91, I will get a profit of 1500. So you said that I will be decreasing. So if you decrease this from 90 to 89, you will get a loss of 1500. That's all. That is the only thing. So I hope you understood, Anurag. You can decrease also. Fine. Right. So very good. So any other doubts? If you are varying it by 2 units, see unit worth in the sense, if I am increasing it by 1 unit, I will be getting extra profit of 1500. Okay. Now you calculate this. Now you can find for other values also. Like let us say if I want to increase resource R1 by 2 units, I will get extra profit of 1500 into 2, 3000 rupees. Okay. So unit worth name itself indicates 1. Okay. So you just find out for 1 unit, then you can calculate for other things also. Like let us say if I increase 2 units, what will happen? I will get 3000 rupees extra profit. If I increase 3 units, then I will get 1500 into 3, 4500 extra profit. Okay. So please reply. Shall we move to the next question? So what is unit worth of R2? It is 0. Unit worth of R2 will be 0 because it is a redundant constraint. You can write down that point. Okay. Unit worth of resource R2 is equal to 0 as it is a redundant constraint. Unit worth of resource R2 is 0 as it is a redundant constraint. Okay. So shall we move to the next question? So again you can follow the same procedure like tabular form. So whatever the tabular form which we have followed here. So follow this tabular form, write down objective function and constraints and find out the maximum value for Z. So just after writing the objective function constraints, please reply. I will tell you whether you have written correct or not. So again, what is your first step? You have to identify the decision variables. Okay. So after identifying decision variables, write objective function, write down the constraints. Or else just follow the tabular form. Okay. So follow the tabular form which we have discussed for the last question. Otherwise, it will be difficult for you. So if you follow the tabular format, then you can easily write those things, objective function and constraints. So what are the decision variables here? So if you have read the question, then it is number of chairs and number of tables. See, a furniture manufacturer produces chairs and tables. The woodworking department is capable of producing 200 chairs or 100 tables or any proportionate combinations of these per week. The weekly demand for chairs and tables is limited to 150 and 80 units respectively. The profit from a chair is rupees 100 and that from a table is rupees 300. So we have identified the decision variables which are your number of chairs and number of tables. Okay, so let's solve the question. So same tabular format you have to follow. So x1 and x2. Let us say it is number of chairs and number of. So one constraint is your woodworking department. Okay. And number of chairs is one more constraint. And number of tables, it is one more constraint. So this is your RHS value. This should be your RHS value. So what is the first statement? So please listen carefully. Maybe you might be having some problem only in writing one constraint. See, the woodworking department is capable of producing 200 chairs or 100 tables. Let's keep this particular statement for some time. Okay, so I am not converting this statement into constraint. We'll come back again. So we'll look at the other statements. The weekly demand for chairs and tables is limited to 150 and 80. So weekly demand, it is limited to 150 units and 80 units. So number of chairs should be less than or equal to 150 and number of tables, sorry, here I am just writing it as 1. And number of tables should be less than or equal to 80. So 0, 0. That means x1 should be less than or equal to 150 and x2 should be less than or equal to 80. So what about your objective function? So you are getting a profits of 100 and 300 respectively. So this will be 100 and this will be. Now coming to this woodworking department, okay, so maybe you got some problem in writing this particular constraint. Okay, now, so just look at this particular statement. The woodworking department is capable of producing 200 chairs or 100 tables. See, here they have written R. So 200 chairs or 100 tables. That means, to convert this particular statement, I am just assuming it as time. I am just taking the help of time period to convert this particular statement into a constraint. Okay. So they are saying that they can manufacture either 200 chairs or 100 tables. That means if they are manufacturing 200 chairs, which is the maximum limit, then the number of tables manufactured by them will be 0. Similarly, if they are manufacturing 100 tables, the number of chairs manufactured by them will be 0. Okay. Or else they can produce some chairs and some tables, right? So that's what they are saying in the question. Now I'm just considering it as, see, the time taken, I'm just giving one statement, the time taken to manufacture 200 chairs will be equal to time taken to manufacture 100 tables, yes or no? So I'm just using that particular statement. So time taken to manufacture 200 chairs is equal to time taken to manufacture 100 tables. Okay, so now what will be the ratio of times? So one chair divided by one table. So it will be 1 by 2. So the meaning of this is, if I am taking 1 hour to manufacture a chair, I need 2 hours to manufacture a table. Okay, so that is the meaning of this particular ratio. So I am just assuming it as time period, okay, so that we can convert this statement into a constraint. Now listen carefully. If I am, let us assume that I am taking 1 hour. So please listen this statement. I am taking 1 hour to manufacture a chair. Now total how many number of hours will be there in my hand? If I am taking 1 hour to manufacture a chair, total how many number of hours will be there in my hand? So up to this point, have you understood? So if you are having doubt regarding this, you can ask. Otherwise, please reply to my statement. If I am taking 1 hour to manufacture a chair, how many number of hours will be there in my hand for manufacturing? Abhimanyu, 200, very good. Because maximum I can manufacture 200 chairs, right? I can manufacture, look at the question. Sai Kumar, good, 200. So maximum I can manufacture only 200 chairs. If I am taking 1 hour to manufacture a chair, I can manufacture 200 chairs. That means total time with me, total available time with me is 200 hours. Okay. So what is the 200 hours? It is your RHS. So if I am taking 1 hour to manufacture a chair, I need 2 hours to manufacture a table, and in my hand I am having 200 hours total. Okay. So this is how you have to write a constraint. Now again listen carefully, you might have got doubt. Now we have taken reference as, so we have taken reference as tables, right? Sorry, chairs. Now you can, or else you can take reference as tables also. Now let us say, so again listen, answer this question. If I am taking 1 hour to manufacture a table, if I am taking 1 hour to manufacture a table, how many number of hours will be there in my hand for manufacturing? So if I am taking 1 hour to manufacture a chair, I will be taking half an hour to manufacture a table, and total number of hours available with me will be 100. Both of these things will give you the same constraint. So x1 plus 2x2 less than or equal to 200, or half x1 plus x2 less than or equal to 100. Both of them are same. So like this you have to convert this particular statement into a constraint. So please reply if you are having any doubt here regarding this. So after converting this, you can easily write this one. So objective function, again it is maximization because profits are given 100x1 plus 300x2. So this will be subjected to the constraints x1 plus 2x2 less than or equal to 200 and x1 should be less than or equal to 150 and x2 should be less than or equal to. Please reply if you are having any doubts regarding this. So in both the ways you can write, you will get the same constraint. Okay. So now we got objective function and constraints. Solve this using graphical method. I think you will get 28,000 as answer. Okay. So I don't know which method you have followed, people who have already given answers, right? So I think Abhimanyu, Kumar Vishwesh, you have given answer. I don't know maybe which method you have followed. So if it is easy or simpler, if you find this as simpler method, you can follow this. Otherwise, whatever the method which you have followed, you can continue with that. So please respond if you are having any doubts regarding this. Otherwise, we will move to the next question. So draw the graph for this. Find out the maximum profit. So I hope you are not having any doubts. That's why I have not commented anything. So plot the graph and please check whether you are getting 28,000 or not. So x1, x2, again we are having only two variables, right? So we need points, put x1 equal to 0, x2 will be 100 and put x2 is equal to 0, x1 will be 200. So here you are having x1 is equal to 150 and x2 is equal to 80. So plot this in the graph. So 0, 100. So let us say somewhere here 0, 100 and 200, 0. Let us see it is somewhere here 200, 0. So join these 2 points. Again it is of less than or equal type constraint in the sense. So region should be downward of this particular straight line. Now x1 is equal to 150. So it may be somewhere here. So 150, 0. So this is your x1 is equal to 150 straight line and x2 is equal to 80. So it may be somewhere here. x2 is equal to 80. So this will be 0, 80. So again for this also it will be downwards or it will be towards the origin. Okay. So this will be your feasible region. Now I am just naming these points. So A, B, C, D, E. Okay. So what are these points C, D? So please reply. What about point C and point D? So for this one it will be 80. I think 40, 80 I guess. 40, 80. And what about point D? So x1 is 150. I think this will be 150, 25 I guess. Please check whether these points are correct or not. 150, 20 or 25. Okay, fine. You have checked. You have corrected yourself. So next simple thing. So just evaluate the z value at 0, 0, 0, 80 and 40, 80 and 150, 125 and 150, 0. So this is 0, 24,000 I guess, and at 40, 80 I think you are getting 28,000. So 150 it will be 15,000 and I think this will be 24,000 I think again. 15,000 plus. So what about this value? 22,000 I guess. So what is the value at 150, 25? 22,000. 22,500 I guess. So please check these values are correct or not. So what is your maximum value? 28,000 which is 40, 80. Okay. So go through these questions. So at that time it was a conventional type of question. Okay. So I mean in 2002 they used to ask some conventional type of questions also. So set up the problem as a linear programming problem. So this is your LPP, linear programming problem. So determine the optimal mix. See, optimal mix in the sense 40, 80 is your optimal mix. X1, X2 values. That is your optimal mix. Third question, what is the maximum profit? It is 28,000. right? Fine. In the very first column, it is your wish, okay? Here I have taken chairs and tables. See, what is your first step? You have to identify the decision variables, okay? So we have seen that number of chairs and number of tables are your decision variables, okay? So those decision variables you have to write in these columns. Here you can take chairs and here you can take tables. That doesn't matter. You will get same final answer. No need to worry, okay? So here we got chairs, tables. So if you interchange these two, what will happen? You will get tables, chairs. That's all. What you have to write? The only thing which you have to keep in mind is you have to write the decision variables here in these columns. So the order of these decision variables doesn't matter. Here you can write tables. Here you can write chairs also. So here you have to write decision variables, and here you have to write your resources or your constraints. So generally, what are the resources which we are having? That we will be writing in the rows. Fine? Okay, good. Anyone else who is having doubt regarding this? Any other doubts in this? Other people? Otherwise, we will move to the next concept. Shall we move to the next concept? Fine. Okay. See, here among these corner points, you are getting optimal solution at only one corner point. Yes or no? That means at only one corner point, this point, you are getting optimal solution. It may be a maximum value, it may be minimum value, that doesn't matter. But for this particular question, it is a maximum value. So you are getting optimal solution only at one corner point. So we call these type of problems or these type of solutions as unique optimal solution. That means at only one corner point, you are getting maximum value. So they can frame questions where at more than one corner point also, you may get optimal solution. That means, let us say at this point and at this point, you are getting 28,000. That means, for this particular LPP, you are having multiple optimal solutions. Okay. So that's what we are going to discuss in the next topic. Types of solutions. Fine. So let's move to the next topic.